Certainly to the high school students in the audience, we hope you get extra credit. For the record, it is Tuesday, September 19th at 6 p.m. We'll start with roll call attendance. Mr. Clerk.
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Cavanagh, Councilmember Milam, Councilmember Palmer, Councilmember Little Roberts,
Here.
Councilmember Borton, Councilmember Byrd,
Here.
Mayor DeVeerd.
Here. Item number 2 is a Pledge of Allegiance. If you all rise and join us in the pledge to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3 is our community invocation. Tonight will be led by Pastor Steve Moore with 10 Mile Christian Church. If you will all join us in the community invocation or take this as an opportunity for a moment of reflection. Thank you so much, Pastor Steve, for being here.
Honored to be here. Heavenly Father, we pause to acknowledge your presence. I forget that you're present. My life is sometimes so daily, and I get trapped by that. God, we acknowledge that you are the one who have blessed us with such a great city, and we get to live here. I pray that you'll use this city as a light to the other cities in Idaho and even beyond that. God, I pray that tonight decisions that are made will be just and fair, and I pray for wisdom for these council members and our mayor that have to make decisions that affect people and sometimes on both sides, and just give them wisdom to sort that all out. I pray that you'd protect our first responders. We're grateful for them and that they just come to work every day, and they don't know what could happen to them, and they come with a sense of trust. And I pray, God, that you would just honor their trust. Thank you, God, for just the fact that you are always looking out for us. We take that for granted. I pray your blessing on this meeting. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 4 is adoption of the agenda.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
on the consent agenda, we got a couple of resolutions. W is number 17-2027. X is 17-2028. And we had to add AB on the consent, and it's the Lovato subdivision NMID pathway easement. And then under community, we've got resolutions numbers 17-2029, 17-2030, 17-2031, 17-2032, and 17-2033, and that's all appointing youth people to commissions. And we've also, under solid waste, we got 17-2034, appointing Scott Waters to seat 1 in that. Impact fee, we got appointing 3 seats, and that proposed resolution is 17-2035. Meridian Development Corporation appointment is the proposed resolution number 17-2036. That's appointing Dan Vassalone and Dave Winder. And under department reports, we got a resolution C, under C, 17-2037. And under our ordinances, we got a ordinance. A is 17-1747, B is 17-1748, and C is 17-1749. And with that, I move that we approve the amended agenda, and I've never seen so many resolutions and ordinances in my life.
Have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as read. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes. Item 5, Mr. Clerk? Okay, there were no public members that signed up. Item 6 is our consent agenda.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
as stated earlier, we had two resolutions on there, 172027 and 172028. And with that, and then we had an addition of an AB, the request for the NMID pathway easement. I move that we approve the amended consent agenda and for the mayor to sign, the clerk to attest.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. There were no items moved from the consent agenda, so we'll move into our community items. Item 8A is under our youth commissioner appointments. The first one up is for Resolution 17-2029. It's reappointing Victoria Mandrigal. Where is she? I heard her giggle. And I'll tell you what, she has the best smile ever. So, Council, I would ask for your, I will first state, and then we'll ask Victoria to come up. But we've heard nothing but good things from SWAC about our youth commission member. And so I told her that we just cannot replace her. So I am bringing her in front of you for reappointment. Jody and I did interviews last week, and a result of that is the list that you have in front of you tonight. So I guess I will just go through these one by one, if we can do a motion after each one.
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Mylum.
Victoria has been wonderful on the SWAT Commission. I'm delighted to know that she's sticking around for another year. So she's really involved and present and participating in the meetings. So I move that we approve resolution number 17-2029, reappointing Victoria Madrigal as Youth Commissioner to the Solid Waste Advisory Committee.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this appointment. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Victoria, would you like to come and tell us really how you say your last name, but come on up in front. Because I fear that both of us kind of just mutilated it.
Well, it's pronounced madrigal. I couldn't say it myself as a kid. I used to think it was magical, but same
Magical.
difference.
Magical.
I just want to thank you all for reappointing me. The people I work with are some of the loveliest people I know, and I couldn't be happier to be working with them again. And I can't wait to see what great things we do this year.
Well, we're excited to have you continue to serve. Victoria is just a sophomore, and so we hope to see amazing things over this year and the years to come. So thank you for your continued interest.
Thank you.
Madam
Thank
Mayor,
you. Mr. Kavner.
I just want to share, in the 4 years that I've been on the council, I've never had somebody from the commission seek me out to make sure I was supportive of a youth commissioner returning, and this was the first time. So clearly, you've made a great impact on the commission.
Great, thank you. The next resolution, 17-2030, is reappointing Ella Kramer as the Youth Commissioner to the Historical Preservation Commission. Ella is also here in the audience, and Ella has a passion for the history and getting others as excited as she is about the history of Meridian and why we should care. So, Council, I would entertain any questions. If not, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
I move that we approve Resolution 17-2030, reappointing Ella Kramer as Youth Commissioner to the Historic Preservation Committee.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 17-2030. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Ella, would you like to come up and say a few words? I think you also have a look-alike in the audience, too. Must be your sister.
Yeah. I'm just so excited for this year and to really make a difference and help people as much as I can.
Well, thank you for joining us and for your family for attending as well. We appreciate your service. And again, we've been really fortunate with these two that I just appointed, that they continue to have an interest because they have served with great enthusiasm and interest in the topics that they're being appointed towards. So thank you, Ella. Okay, Resolution 17-2031 is an appointment for Britton Davis as the Youth Commissioner to the Transportation Commission. Britton is also here. I'll ask him to speak in a moment, but Council, I would entertain any interest.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Kavanagh.
unless there's any questions or comments, I would move that we would approve Resolution 17-2031, appointing Britton Davis as the Youth Commissioner for the Transportation Commission.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 17-2031. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. I don't think I see Kayla. But Kayla is also a reappointment from the Parks and Recreation Commission. And Kayla has a great energy. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Britton, would you like to say something? Please join us. Thank you, Mr. Kavanagh. Thank you for being here tonight.
Hello, everyone. I'm really grateful for this opportunity to serve the city in this position. This is my first time, and I can't be more eager to start or put my full effort into the city and the position which I have been given. Thank you.
Thank you, Britton. So really, he was after one of your jobs, but I made him settle for the Transportation Commission. Okay, the next appointment is reappointing Kayla McNay as our Youth Commissioner on the Parks and Recreation Commission. For those of you that went on the Parks tour, Kayla was on the tour, and if you didn't notice, she has great enthusiasm. I think she was out swinging with Councilmember Mylum. But if you have any questions, I would entertain those. Hearing none, I would take a motion to approve.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Ms. Little Roberts.
I move we approve the resolution reappointing Kayla McNay as the Youth Commissioner to the Parks and Recreation Commission.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 17-2032. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer. Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. The last of our Youth Commission appointments is Resolution 17-2033, appointing Randy B. Funk on our Meridian Arts Commission. And I'll tell you, if you read his resume, several pages of it, you will see that this young man, while he is a freshman, has accomplished more in his life than many have accomplished in their entirety. So we're thrilled to have Randy B. on the Arts Commission, and I would stand for any questions.
Madam Mayor,
Hearing none. Ms. Mylum.
I move that we approve resolution number 17-2033, appointing Randy B. Funk as a Youth Commissioner to the Arts Commission. I'm happy to have him.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 17-2033. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Randy B., would you like to say a few words? Thank you for joining us.
This one. Hi, I'm Randy B. Funk. I'm so pleased and privileged to be able to have this opportunity, and I just can't wait to get started and put forth my full effort into the city because I absolutely love Meridian. So, thank you.
Thank you. Well, I look forward to it as well, Randy B., because like I said, when I started, we already know what you can do unprovoked. Just imagine what you're going to do on this commission. So thank you for being here, and for your dad as well. Okay, item 8B is under our Solid Waste Advisory Commission. This is a reappointment, Resolution 17-2034. Any questions?
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Mylum?
I move that we approve resolution number 17-2034, reappointing J. Scott Walters to seat 1 of the Meridian Solid Waste Advisory Commission.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item 8B. If there's no discussion, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. 8C is Resolution 17-2035. This is also a reappointment of our expiring seats for the Impact Fee Advisory Committee, and I would stand for any questions.
Summer Commission.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd?
I move that we approve
Oh, that's just a committee.
resolution number 17-2035, reappointing Dave Fulkerson to seat 1, Gene Strait to seat 2, John Wardle to seat 3 of the Impact Fee Committee.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item 8C. There's no discussion. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Item 8D is under the Meridian Development Corporation. These two are also reappointments. Resolution 17-2036, reappointing these two individuals to the MDC.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd?
I move we approve resolution number 17-2036, reappointing Dan Basilone to seat 9 and Dave Winder to seat 4 of the Meridian Development Corporation.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item 8D. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. And I will tell our youth on commission, you don't have to stay the entire meeting. You will have your opportunity to spend plenty of time sitting up here. So thank you for joining us, and thank you to your family for your support and lending your young adult to serve the city in this capacity. So thank you so much. Okay, item 9A is a public hearing continued from September 5th for H 2017-0082. I will ask for staff comments at this time.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. This item was continued from your September 5th hearing. No testimony was taken during that meeting. The applicant was out of town, and so it was continued to tonight. This application is for a combined preliminary final plat and a conditional use permit. The site is approximately 9.28 acres, zoned CC. It's located at the northeast corner of South Locust Grove Road and East Puffin Street, generally near the southeast corner of Overland and Locust Grove, as you can see on the exhibits in front of you now. So just to orient you a little bit more, to the north would be the convenience store, car wash, gas station. To the south is LDS Church. To the east is the Sagecrest Apartments and Mountain View High. And then across the street are single-family residential across Locust Grove Road. Again, the applicant has applied for a combined preliminary and final plat consisting of 2 building lots. You can see those on the exhibits on the screen now. And the conditional use permit is for a self-service storage facility. Lot 2, Block 1, the proposed Lot 2, Block 1 is the self-service storage facility lot consisting of 14 storage buildings. Here's a site plan. Excuse me. Including an attached office, and the other lot is slated for development in the future, so you can see across on the north side there. Sorry about that. The future lot for future development. The storage unit facility is subject to specific use standards as set forth in UDC 11-4334, and we've reviewed those for compliance in the staff report. The Meridian Planning and Zoning Commission heard these items on July 20th and August 3rd. Testifying in favor at the P&Z meeting was John Day, Kathy Woldersack, Sharon Manville, Rita Chatton, and Glenn Schell. They signed up as neutral, but testified in favor. There's no one that testified in opposition, no comments. No other comments were taken during that time. We did receive some written testimony before P&Z from Lisa Baird commenting on essentially wanting to see the private access road remain open to get to Puffin because it can be difficult to just use some of the other access points out of the C-store lot and oil change facility. The key issues of discussion by the commission were the design of the structures and appropriate building materials, screening materials and the height of the screen wall, landscaping along the perimeter of the facility. Based on that, the commission did recommend some changes to the staff report. So if you have the packet handy, beginning on page 17, condition 1.1.4, the commission did strike bullet 1 and 2, which talked about some modifications to the landscape plan. And so I do have the revised landscape plan in front of you that's reflected in the updated staff report. The applicant has revised the landscape plan there, but that condition was modified. And then condition 1.1.6, the commission also modified to coincide with the revised elevations that were submitted, and some additional language about compliance with the Architectural Standards Manual. And then on page 18, condition 1.1.7 was also modified. Some of the sub-bullets 1 and 3 were removed, and they modified bullet number 2 to specify the screen wall along the perimeter of the complex should be 8 feet in height and designed to complement the design of the facility. So that was this project thus far. There were no additional comments in the Laserfiche that I see that was submitted to the city in advance of this meeting since the Planning and Zoning Commission. And with that report, I would stand for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Caleb. Council, any questions?
I have none at this time.
Madam Mayor?
Ms. Lo Roberts.
Madam Mayor, Caleb, you mentioned that we had written testimony from Elisa Baird. Were her concerns addressed? Is the private access road going to remain open, or do we know?
Madam Mayor, council members, I didn't see anything in the staff report that made it sound like there was any intent to close that private access road, but you may just get some clarification from the applicant that will remain open.
Okay, thank you. And is the applicant here this evening? Would you like to provide comment? Good evening. If you'll please state your name and address for the record.
My name is John Day, and I reside at 3501 North 32nd Street, and that's Boise, Idaho.
Thank you.
If I may address that, the comment regarding the access road, I assume she's talking about the north-south access road? Correct, yeah. That currently is a cross-access easement that is in place, and so as this project stands right now, it will remain in place.
Thank you. Do you have anything you want to add?
You know, I really don't have anything more to add at this time. You know, I think we are of understanding and approve of the conditions that are put upon us. I think we've worked with the staff and Mr. Parsons to meet all the requirements regarding landscaping, the look of the building, and so, you know, again, I think we understand the conditions and accept them as they are. So I'd stand for any questions you may have at this point.
Okay, thank you, John. Any questions for the applicant?
I have none.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to provide testimony? There were
no
no
sign-ups.
members signing up. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment? Okay. Council, any questions for the applicant or for staff? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
I move we close the public hearing on H 2017-0082.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing on item 9A. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
I move we approve H 2017-0082 and include all staff and applicant comment.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item 9A. Any discussion? Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Item 9B is a public hearing continued also from September 5th for H 2017-0111. It was continued for a specific reason on the elevations, and I'll see if staff has any comment.
Madam Mayor, just a quick refresher. So this is a short plat application that's before you now, located on the south side of West Franklin Road, just west of Linder Road. The mailing address is 1845 West Franklin Road. There are 4 building lots proposed and 1 common lot on 7.99 acres of land in the CC and TNR zoning districts. As you just mentioned, Madam Mayor, the project was continued. We had public comment during that meeting questioning the rear elevation of the townhome units. And so we looked at the development agreement, if you recall, during that meeting, pulled up the exhibit in the development agreement. The applicant's representative that was here could not clarify what was happening with those elevations, and so that's why we're back here 2 weeks later. I do see the applicant, Mr. Jewett, is in the audience. Before he gets up, though, just wanted to share with you those elevations that we looked at, a little bit cleaner version of the scanned-in version that was in Laserfiche. But here are the elevations that were conceptually approved. I'll draw your attention to, these are the south elevations, so the rear of that, again, across that drain, that I believe are the subject of the testimony from 2 weeks ago. These are high level windows. You've probably seen those before. They'll let a lot of daylight in, but they're not at eye view. I asked Sonia, who's working on this project, and I believe Mr. Jewett's prepared tonight to kind of answer that question. I don't know how high is, so I don't know exactly. It's not dimensioned on either one of these in the conceptual elevations that are in the development agreement or the elevations that we approved with the certificate of zoning compliance towards when someone goes in for a building permit, basically. There's not a dimension, so I don't know what from the finished floor to the bottom or the top of that window what that dimension is, but you can, that was testimony anyways, what these would be the higher windows and not just at a regular height. I will also just point out on those bedrooms that are back there, the side elevations are the larger, kind of more typical standard
That's not what you mean.
potential egress window, if you would, in case of an emergency and you need to get on the roof or whatever. That one would be easier to get on. I don't know if it actually opens or not, but just, again, a reference point for where that sits in the floor plan. The side elevations have those kind of more traditional windows. So it is just, I will just reiterate though, it is a short plat. The elevations have been through the public hearing process. did that. We looked at the minutes and the summary for both the development agreement and the conditional use permit for the multifamily that's also on this site, but not part of topic tonight. These went through a conditional use permit hearing. That was not discussed previously at those meetings. It's what the applicant submitted, and again, what's on record with the city. So with that information, I would stand for any additional questions you may have.
Thank you, Caleb. Jim, would you like to make comment? Thank you for joining us. You'll please state your name and address for the record.
Jim Jewett, 354 Colchester in Eagle, Idaho.
Thank you.
And first of all, I'll apologize for not being here last time. I normally always attend, but I double-checked several times, seeing no issues. I decided to do a different meeting that night, so I apologize.
That's Murphy's Law.
I know. So, and I don't know exactly which resident had the questions, but in that time frame that you mentioned in the email I got from staff, we did meet with the neighbors. They did have concern about me going from a single level to a two-story against their north boundary, my south boundary. So I did agree to have no rear-facing windows. When I spoke with staff, they said, well, we still architecturally need to have something. So we came up with the high windows for light only, with the egress openable windows facing the side. And that's what you said. I did email Caleb just now a picture, an internal picture, if you can pull it up, Caleb, and you show it. And it gives you the illustration of how high it is from an inside view. So I did send it to Sonia, but she must have left before she got it.
Madam Mayor, it may take me a while because I'm not actually logged on here, so I've got to log in to the system, restart that up, and so it'll probably be a few minutes before I have access to that email. So I'm sorry, but I'll do that, but it'll probably be a few minutes.
Illustrating wise, it's usually about 6 foot to the bottom of that window. And it's just a window, you see it a lot in homes now, above bedroom, the doors, or above their beds, they have the high windows, just for light.
I think the whole intent was we knew that you had made a commitment to the neighbors. We wanted to make sure that that was captured, and so I would ask council if you have any questions.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Byrd.
Jim, on the floor, you're talking, you say they're going to be above a 6'8" header for the door. It's going to be above 6'8".
It's somewhere
the bottom
between,
of it.
The bottom of it would be somewhere between the 6 foot and a 6'8". So like from my height to the bottom of a door, somewhere in that height range to the bottom of the window.
Yeah, because doors are 6'8", so,
yeah.
And if you're going above that, and I hope you understand why the neighbors don't want some 36-inch window down there looking down on it and stuff, and the reason that, you know, under the elevations we had for the DA and stuff showed those, and legally, you know, you could have put it in, but you had told them they hadn't. So I appreciate this, as long as we keep it down to not like that, but like the one on the left. Yeah.
The one on the left is exactly it.
Okay. I think the neighbors could live with that, because we don't find too many 7-footers around here.
Yeah. So, and again, I apologize that I wasn't here to clarify it then, and that everybody had to come back, the neighbors being so.
Understand.
Any further questions from council?
Madam Mayor, I do have another question.
Yes, Mr. Byrd.
And this, I think Joe can probably in on this. What do we, if these are in bedrooms, Jim, what is how do we get the
Egress or ingress?
For egress.
It'd be the window to the right, which would be safe.
Okay, it'd be on the side, okay. Understand that. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Council, I know you continued this specifically for the elevations. If there are any comments? Sir.
Anybody else?
Good evening. If you'll state your name and address for the record.
I'm Doug Thompson, 1846 West Greenhead.
Thank you.
My yard backs up against 10 Mile Creek, which is the south side of where he is. I have here a letter from another resident who wasn't able to be here tonight that comments that he had agreed to move those windows completely. Not to shorten them, not to change them, but to move them to the side of the building. That was the agreement he made with those of us that were at that meeting. Now, if he's got to change that, it would seem logical that he should come back to us if he's trying to be in compliance with something, or if there's some design reason that those windows have to be there, that he should come back to us and that there should be some agreement between us. As it now stands, he's got something passed through and has received approval on something where he told the neighbors he was going to do one thing, and then to be in compliance did another thing. So he's telling you one story, he's telling us a different story. He's telling you he's got agreement from the neighbors, and he doesn't have that for what he's proposed and what has been approved. And I don't know, there's been so many changes on this property already. I feel like we've been sucked in as a neighborhood. We were presented a plan, it was altered, we agreed to that plan, it was altered again, we said, okay, we'll agree to that, it's altered again. We said, okay, move the windows. He says, we'll move the windows. He comes to you guys and gets something else totally approved that we just hadn't even seen before. We met with him the 26th of July. He promised us he'd move those windows. As I understand it from the last meeting, these elevations were submitted to you all in September of last year. He had plenty of time to get back in touch with us before submitting those for approval. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings about what it is and where everybody is in this thing. I don't agree with it, personally.
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Palmer.
And sir, what was your address again?
1846 West Greenhead.
And your main concern was you didn't want people looking down into your yard.
Yeah,
So these high windows, you know that unless they stand on a chair, they're not going to be looking down into your
If
yards.
I am a pervert, and I don't know who he's going to rent these places to, and they're obviously rentals. They're not designed for a family to move in and live there for years. If I am a pervert, and I'm 100 feet away from a backyard, a pair of binoculars or a spotting scope is nothing. And to put that thing 6 feet high, the bottom of that window 6 foot high, it's a stepladder problem. And he's talking about putting it in the bedroom, so I'm standing on a bed looking out of a window with a pair of binoculars. Now, you know, is he going to put fogged glass in there? What's he going to do? We haven't talked about this with him. And so I don't know what the intent is. You know, if it's a solid window and we're putting fogged glass in there that's not, that you can't see through, that's one thing, if it's just for light. If he's putting clear glass in there, then I've got a concern. You know, I've got neighbors that have young kids that may be sunbathing in the backyard. I don't know who's going to live in those apartments. And they're going to look right in my windows from those apartments. So I don't know. And everybody along that whole ditch bank's got the same problem.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Palmer.
If I might ask you, tell me about your house. Do you have any windows above the first story on the back of your house?
Well, no, I've got a 22-foot, 24-foot ceiling in my living room, which has an arched window that goes out the back of the house, but it's not technically part of the second story. So no, we don't have second-story windows that look out.
You have a much higher up window than just first story.
Oh,
normal
yeah.
window. Okay.
Yeah. But I don't see that as a problem, because if I'm at a second story looking down at a house, whether that's a single story or a two-story, I can still see right in those windows.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Kavner.
Sir, you indicated that, sounds like that you've met with the applicant on multiple occasions. Can you just say?
I've met with him three times, I guess, myself.
Madam Mayor, follow-up. And at each time that you met, you said that he brought a revised plan, is that?
Yes.
That's accurate?
That is correct.
Thank you.
And on the 26th, it was revised. These single dwellings, single level buildings were changed to townhouses, I guess, 2-story townhouses, which I understand the reasoning for it and the greed involved with it. I understand all that. And so from a management standpoint, I don't have a problem with it, but I am concerned about those windows and the privacy into the backyards of those of us that have been there for a long time. You know, and on that occasion, he did agree to those of us that were at the meeting to move the windows to the side.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you for coming.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay, any other testimony? Okay, any follow-up comment?
Yes, Jim Jewett again for the record.
Thank you.
Yes, we've met with the neighborhood on multiple occasions. I've met with them over there at the Firehouse Pub, and we had you know, a few beers and talked about the pathway. We've talked about so many things and coordinating with them, the bridge over to 10 Mile Creek. And I don't recall exactly what meeting. I did agree to move the windows to the side. I did. Staff had concerns about not having a blank wall for an architectural purposes, so we came up with high windows. I don't recall if I took that plan back to them. I don't recall if I thought it was significant enough. But to have them to be frosted or somehow blocked out so that it's just a light and not see-through, I have no issue with that. And I would offer that as a resolution, so because I really want them to be happy with what we've done and not to be disappointed in the process. And so if that satisfies the neighbors and the council is okay with that, I'm okay to amend my own plan to allow all those to be fogged or somehow shaded so they're not see-through, to eliminate that concern.
Thank you, Jim.
Madam
Mr.
Mayor,
Beer.
what I'm hearing from you, Jim, is you're willing to, on the back windows, to have the bottom oven no lower than 6 foot, and you're going to put obscure glass in every one of them.
Correct.
Obscure glass will give you the light, but nobody can see out of it.
Correct.
It's called obscure glass. Thank you.
Will these be a solid pane or are they openable?
It's a solid.
I think they're solid. One of them, Jim. They can be sliders or fixed.
We almost always do them as fixed.
Yeah.
So I see no objection to keeping them fixed.
That size, they're not going to slide very good.
No.
Okay, council, any additional questions?
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Mylum?
I don't have a question, more of just a comment. Jim, I think that you've done a really fine job accommodating to make your neighbors happy. I can't imagine, honestly, looking at that picture and the dimensions, both architecturally and from a human point of view, not having windows there, I think would be cold, and I think that this is a much better plan, and so I'm glad that you were able to come up with something that hopefully your neighbors will be happy, so thank you.
Okay, any further items from council?
If not, Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd?
I would move we close the public hearing on H 2017-0111.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd?
I move we approve H 2017-0111 with staff and applicant comments as of dated September 19th, 2017. And as this applicant stated, any windows in the back will start at 6 foot and above, and will have obscure glass in it.
On the second story.
And be fixed on second story.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item 9B with the conditions as stated. Any discussion by council? Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer. Aye. Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried.
Thanks, Jim.
Item 9A is under department reports, and this is a continued discussion on the Verizon small cell program as was presented to council earlier this month. Mr. Neri.
Thank you, Madam Members of the council. I think the intent was simply to make sure we're okay in moving forward and getting an agreement together. We have reached out to Verizon. They've sent us some other alternative agreements. But this is not a cut and paste with ACHD. In reviewing the ACHD agreement, it is very ACHD centric and not really because where they're allowing those are in major arterial intersections and not neighborhoods, not on light poles. They're all on mast arms of intersections. So it's very much geared to them. We have reached out with some questions to Verizon, but the original discussion I thought last week was you're anticipating having an agreement next week. I don't anticipate having anything for at least a month because we've identified some issues internally that we need to get clarity from Verizon on how these would work, how they would interact with other ones. We have to check with our electrical provider that does all of our maintenance of our street lights and how would this impact that ability to do that? Would that be an issue to Verizon? So there's a number of things we've identified from planning, legal, and mainly public works that we just need some questions answered. So it's probably going to take us a little bit, but we're moving forward, and like I said, Verizon's been very cooperative in providing us with some other alternative agreements they've had in other cities so that we can take the best of what other folks have done and then put that into an agreement that's very Meridian oriented and not necessarily, like I said, some of the other ones we've seen. Boise City just passed one as well. There's a review fee that they didn't bring that up last week, but the ACHD actually charges a review fee to review the application, as well as their annual fee is $750 a light, not $100. So there's going to be obviously some discussion that will probably come back to you for more decisions with Verizon, but we want to get most of the technical things out of the way first. So I just wanted to let you know that's kind of where we are in a week. So
Thank you.
Okay. Council, any comment or any suggestion on anything else they need to be looking at?
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Mylum.
I'm personally not a fan of this agreement at all. So I believe there's more risk than gain for the city. We don't have from what the people that I've talked to, including our first responders, reception in the city is not an issue. So they were using that as their big sales pitch. Why we would want to do this, because it will help their reception, and I've been told their reception is just fine. There isn't a problem. I think that when we get into people's neighborhoods, I don't like the Costco issue. We might end up with a lot of people that don't really want it in their backyard. They might think it's an okay idea, but not in my backyard. The problems that it can cause, the injuries, the hurt, the harm to our equipment. I think for $200 a year, it's ridiculous. Or $100 a year, it's not worth the risk. That's my opinion.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Palmer.
Madam Mayor, being somewhat concerned about the NIMBY situation, I posted, obviously this is far from scientific, but I posted on my Facebook, the idea and even an image, similar to the ones that they were presenting, and asked what people thought. And it was resoundingly, all the comments were absolutely in favor of it. I spoke with a few other HOA board members, not only from my board, but others in the area, and they seemed super excited about it, and people were begging to have it in their backyard. I have a light pole that the city owns across the street from me that's at an angle. I'd much rather have a straight light pole with a cell tower on it than an angled light pole. And so the people that I heard from were all in favor of it. I was waiting for somebody to come up with something that would have a reason against it. So other than the reasons, the possibilities that you had mentioned, all I'd heard was good things.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
I'll ask you two first responders. With our Opticon, this cell tower isn't going to mess with the lights at all. I mean, when you hit the Opticon, the lights change for you, right?
Unfortunately, council member, I don't know anything about this project. No one has brought it to my attention. I would have concerns.
I'm just asking a question. When you guys get to and I know the police do, you hit, isn't it Opticon they call it?
Correct, the Opticon.
You hit that, the light changes green for you, right?
Correct.
How's the cell tower going to interfere with that?
Depending on the direction and the angle of the Opticom emitter hitting the item up on the pole. And that's why I don't know what these items look like, if it would interfere with that signal or not.
Lieutenant, you got?
I do not know how that would affect.
I mean, the cell towers could be set so that they didn't interfere with the Opticon. We don't want to interfere with the Opticon.
Well, certainly that is a question that we can add to our list that we can research and make sure that there's no interference.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Kavner.
I'm hearing, I think, good feedback from Councilwoman Milam and Councilmember Palmer. So I guess a question would be for either you, Madam Mayor, for Bill. Is it contemplated that once the agreement is in its final form, that we would have a public hearing for the public to provide feedback? As much as I value social media comments and information that we've picked up along the way, hearing from our citizens on this and how we're going to use their resources, to me seems like the ideal step.
I think that's an excellent idea once we have something that the public can look at.
Yep.
And so that's the first step, is to have an agreement so that people can make comment on. So good point. Anything further from council?
Madam Mayor?
Oh,
Just
I'm sorry. I was just thinking, okay, where did that voice just come from? I knew it wasn't God, but thank you. Caleb.
So I just wanted to point out there, I think all of you kind of touched on it with public hearings and not in my backyard and things like that. One of the topics, I think, it was discussed last week when Verizon was here. One of the concerns I have is that process to not, they're going to tell you where they need one, but when they decide where it needs, the look and feel of that, who gets to determine that? And I guess one of the things I would initially put out there for you to just consider as we continue to work towards drafting this agreement is, do we come up with a design or two or three that we like, and we say in residential districts it's going to be A or B. That's it. We aren't going to customize these to look like pine trees or clock towers, and it's a case by case, but through the public involvement process, the public gets to participate and say, okay, if one of these goes in, here's what it's going to look like. And everybody understands, if these go in, this is what they're going to look like. I guess my concern is me mediating between an HOA and a cell company, and they say, we need this, and the HOA says, we want it to look like this, and who gets to decide that? So the aesthetic part of that, I think, does need to be daylighted with the public to some, and I don't know what that looks like. I'm just concerned about doing 40 or 80 or 100 of these with one carrier, and then we got 2 or 3 or 4 others, and I'm at meetings with all of them trying to figure out what's appropriate and not. So if we could just, again, my 2 cents would be, I would like to see us come up with a design or two that you all like, based on public input, that says wherever they go, they're going to look like this and that, and they're going to be able to hold 2 different carriers and whatever. We'll have specs, basically, a spec sheet for this saying, this is, if you want to build these in Meridian, here's what they got to look like. And we can give it to anybody that comes, and we say, this is what our small cell towers look like. So that was the biggest point I think I had, and to figure out how that works with our current code. And are they just administratively approved? Does staff just approve them over the counter, or do we want to put them through conditional use permit process or something else to have a little bit more input from neighbor? Again, just questions that I have. I don't have answers, just some questions. So anyways, just wanted to put that out there.
Madam Mayor.
Caleb, I think those are great points. And when Verizon was here, they did show a couple different styles that I do believe that the city should have a standard. I guess in the research, I would hope that that standard can be universal and not changed by carrier, that it's something that all carriers could use that same design. I would also ask that you maybe bring back recommendations on the approach if they are adding the cell towers, that they do have a comprehensive plan on what they're originally submitting and maybe a window. This particular carrier suggested 40 to begin with and up to 80 in total after 3 years. And so what that would look like, then the public has something that they can come and comment on, and if they know where those locations are. So that would be my suggestion. Ms. Milam.
That reminded me of, Madam Mayor, that one of the other issues that I have is staff time. How much staff time are we going to put into this? This is going to end up costing us more than the proceeds. So my proposal is for $2,000 per pole. It makes sense.
Well, I think right now staff is researching it. ACHD, as Mr. Neri stated, was a $500 application with a $750 a year per pole fee. So I guess staff would come back with a recommendation for council to discuss. Certainly, what they found in reading the agreement with ACHD is that the monthly fee was larger than was kind of inferred during the comments. So if there's nothing further, if you think of anything, please share that with Mr. Neri, and we can assemble all the questions and bring back something that you can further discuss. Okay, item 10C, or I'm sorry, 10B is a joint powers agreement for the EMS JPA. This is something that is just an annual renewal. I know the chief has kept you up to date as victories are made on this, and it's just to renew that agreement for another year. And this is separate than the fire JPA that was talked about earlier this year. And I know the chief is planning on coming back to give an update to council on where we're at with this. So council, I would entertain any questions. If there are none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Kavner.
I move we approve the joint powers agreement for coordinated and cooperative provision of emergency medical services in Ada County, also known as the EMS JPA annual renewal.
Second.
I have a motion and second to approve item 10B. If there's no discussion, Mr. Clerk.
Madam Mayor, just.
Mr. Byrd.
With the motion maker also, we've got a letter there for the mayor to sign to include that in his motion for the mayor to sign and the clerk to attest.
Madam Mayor, yes, thank you, Councilmember. The maker of the motion would agree that for a letter to be signed by the mayor and for the clerk to attest.
Agrees.
Okay. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Milam.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer. Aye. Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes. Item 10C is Resolution 17-2037. Council, any items regarding this item? Any questions regarding this item?
Oh, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Palmer.
Somehow my eyes totally skipped this when I was reading through the agenda. Darn it. When it was first discussed, I had pulled it up, and there were a few things that just didn't make sense unless I just didn't understand them. Where it was talking about some building permits that were like $64 per square foot, and now I'm trying to pull it up.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Neri.
Madam Mayor, so if I recall, Councilman Palmer, there's some of them that are listed on there that are for patio covers, additions to homes, and they're based on the square footage. And what they do is that tells the value of the project, then the cost of the permit is $50 plus every $1,000 of value has a cost. So it's not, like the example we talked about was the $16 per square foot for the patio cover. So if you build a 100 square foot patio cover, are you paying $1,600? You're not. You're paying the value of $50 plus the 1,000 rounded up to the next 1,000. So if that was a $1,600 value patio cover, you'd pay $50 plus the 2,000 square foot value of that. So I sent out an email with a memo attached to it that planning provided, and if you give me a second, I can pull that up. But
Mayor, that was the most government explanation of something I have ever heard.
Of course it is.
It came from the attorney, of course. Can you say that in English?
Sure.
I can.
So it is, so all of our building
it's
permits are
right.
based, yeah, it is correct. All of our building permits are based on the value of the construction.
Okay.
And so that's how they determine what the value is. So there is basically like for this one, for example, a 1,300 square foot house, $94.06 is how the value of the house, the addition of the house is valued. So you take that number, it's $50 plus 150 times 550. So the building permit for a house that's 1,350 square feet with a 600 square foot garage, the building permit is $875. So it's all based on value. So that's what was maybe misleading in that it was trying to establish the fees for the value in there, so it wasn't the fee that you pay. It's correct.
Madam Mayor, as long as it's right, I'm
Yes.
good, and it wasn't
It is.
$1,600 for a 100 square foot patio cover.
It is not.
Sounds good.
If you want to pay that, I'll take it.
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Mylum.
I move that we approve resolution number 17-2037.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item 10C. Any discussion? Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer. Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Now comes the most exciting part of our agenda, the reading of the ordinances. 11A is ordinance 17-1747. Mr. Clerk, will you please read this by title?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City of Meridian ordinance number 17-1747. An ordinance Rockberry subdivision file H 2017-0018 of the City of Meridian granting rezoning of a parcels of land situated in the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter of Section 22, Township 4 North, Range 1 West, Boise, Ada County, Idaho, as described in Attachment A, establishing and determining the land use zoning classification of said lands from R15 Medium High Density Residential District, 8.95 acres, and CN Neighborhood Business District, 16.11 acres, to R15 Medium High Density Residential District, 6.71 acres, and CN Neighborhood Business District, 18.38 acres in the Meridian City Code, providing that copies of this ordinance shall be filed with the Ada County Assessor, the Ada County Recorder, and the Idaho State Tax Commission as required by law, and providing for a summary of the ordinance, and providing for a waiver of the reading rules, and providing for an effective date.
You've heard this item read by title. Is there anyone who would like to hear it read in its entirety?
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Mylum.
being none, I move that we approve ordinance number 17-1747 with suspension of rules.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item 11A. If there's no discussion, Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer. Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes. 11B is ordinance 171748. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City of Meridian ordinance number 17-1748, an ordinance stored self-storage, file number H2017-0071 of the City of Meridian granting annexation and zoning of a parcel of land situated in a portion of the north half of the southeast quarter of Section 34, Township 4 North, Range 1 West, Boise, Ada County, Idaho, as described in Attachment A, and annexing certain lands and territories situated in Ada County, Idaho, and adjacent and contiguous to the corporate limits of the City of Meridian, as requested by the City of Meridian. Establishing and determining the land use zoning classification of said lands from RUT to IL, Light Industrial District, in the Meridian City Code. Providing that copies of this ordinance shall be filed with the Ada County Assessor, the Ada County Recorder, and the Idaho State Tax Commission as required by law, and providing for a summary of the ordinance, and providing for a waiver of the reading rules, and providing for an effective date.
You've heard 11B read by title. I don't see anyone wanting to hear it read in its entirety, so council, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Mylum.
I move that we approve ordinance number 17-1748 with suspension of rules.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item 11B. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Milam.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes. 11C is ordinance 17-1749. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City of Meridian ordinance number 17-1749, an ordinance, Goddard Creek, file number H2017-0007 of the City of Meridian granting rezoning of a parcel of land situated in the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter of Section 26, Township 4 North, Range 1 West, Boise, Ada County, Idaho, as described in Attachment A, and annexing certain lands and territories situated in Ada County, Idaho, establishing and determining the land use zoning classification of said lands from R4, Medium Low Density Residential District, to CC, Community Business District in the Meridian City Code, providing that copies of this ordinance shall be filed with the Ada County Assessor, the Ada County Recorder, and the Idaho State Tax Commission as required by law, and providing for a summary of the ordinance, and providing for a waiver of the reading rules, and providing for an effective date.
Council, do I have a motion?
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Mylum.
I move that we approve ordinance number 17-1749 with suspension of rules.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item 11C. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Milam.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, wish carried. Council, under item 12, we do have a couple of upcoming items and events. On Wednesday, tomorrow, we have our candidate forum at Meridian High School starting at 6:30. Meridian Business Day is this Friday from 8 to 1 right here at City Hall. So parking will be complicated. Treasure Valley Youth Safety Summit is also on Friday, September 22nd from 7:30 to 2:30 at Wahoo's. The Mayor's Senior Advisory Board is doing, in partnership with the Fire Department, CPR training on Saturday, September 23rd from 9 to 11 at the Public Safety Training Center. And a week from today is the Recovery Day Breakfast, provided a good program with the Meridian Anti-Drug Coalition, and that begins at 7:30 a.m. at the Meridian Police Department. Anything further under this item?
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Little Roberts.
for anyone that was planning on going to the Meridian IEC grand opening, they are planning
Cancel
on rescheduling it. They decided that the weather report was not conducive to having an outside event.
And it looks like it will be sometime the first or second week of October. So we'll get that out to you when it is scheduled. So thank you for bringing that up. And to the students that have managed to stay through the reading of the ordinances, I have a City of pin for you. And with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes.
What's more impressive is that you stayed through the window.